I'm going to get back to the PNP's shadow cabinet. The opposition will need to have some explaining to do, you know. What is this cabinet about? What does it say about the People's National Party? Because the concept of a shadow cabinet in the Westminster system is to mirror the government's cabinet. It allows, therefore, the opposition to hold the government accountable and present alternative policies. The PNP's cabinet is a different structure than the government's cabinet. And it raises concerns about its effectiveness in shadowing the government. This team cannot effectively shadow the government. What we have in Jamaica today is a lopsided governance structure because of the inadequacies of the opposition. And it's not good for the democracy. You know, labor rights may be happy because they have a confused set of people shadowing them. But the rest of Jamaica ought to be concerned. Because by not mirroring the government's cabinet, the PNP shadow cabinet may be seen as a separate governance structure rather than a complementary one. What you want from a shadow cabinet is a complementary one. Not one that is directly in opposition to what the government is doing. Because remember now, what you want is synergy in government. So instead of focusing on holding government ministers accountable, that's what you want the shadow cabinet to do, to hold the government ministers accountable. It appears as if we are in a competition with the government. Because without a clear mirroring of government ministries, it is going to be challenging for the shadow cabinet to effectively hold ministers accountable. Benji, don't stay in the chat and chat. If you want to talk to us about that, send a request and make your point. Right. In the system of Westminster, Benji, have you ever read that? You know about Westminster, Benji? Effective governance involves collaboration. You know, in Britain, Keir Starmer, every week, Benji, goes to Parliament and is questioned by the opposition leader. Have you ever watched it? The cut and thrust of the Westminster democratic process. It's not like in Jamaica where you table questions and the government minister or the prime minister have weeks to prepare those answers. You have to answer it on your feet. So Kemi Badenoch, who is the conservative leader, and this system in Britain, Benji, is where we adopt our own system of government, you know. Governance includes the opposition. So in the cut and thrust of the politics, Keir Starmer, yes, the opposition leader, I think, gets 15 to 20 minutes probing. You have to be ready on your feet with the answers. That's what the democracy calls for. It is to be robust. Governments do better when the opposition is effective. And the opposition must at all times be ready to assume the government. Because anything can happen a day in politics. It's a very long time. People can tell you that things can change in the country in the next 2 or 3 years. We may be forced into an election in a year or two, you know, Benji. No matter things that the term of office lasts for 5 years, that's constitutional. But governments can run into problems, all type of things can happen, and you have to go back to the polls. Is the opposition ready to take the reins of government and to carry it along, Benji? That's what I'm asking. Is the People's National Party, by this first move, have they demonstrated that they are ready to move Jamaica forward? And I am suggesting by looking at this shadow cabinet and by reading what Clyde Williams said. Let me see if I can find it again for you, my comrade friend. Yes, hear what he said. He was a member of your party, you know, sir. Benji, Clyde Williams, remember him? A lawyer. He says that the PNP's shadow team appears conceptually flawed and impractical, as they have named a team where the members do not shadow directly each minister or ministry. The question is, when you have a problem with a minister, who do you call as media? Who you call? That's what we are saying to you, Benji. That one of your own is saying that it is conceptually flawed. Nothing is wrong if you just accept that there's some confusion here. We have a Ministry of Education, Youth, and Information, Benji. Who is shadowing that from the People's National Party? Because I notice that Damian Crawford is shadowing early childhood development. And someone else is shadowing youth. And someone else is shadowing information. So there are 3 persons in the PNP's shadow cabinet shadowing Dana Morris Dixon. That make any sense? So by shadowing specific government ministries, opposition members scrutinize policies and actions, specifically, focus. And by doing so, they promote transparency, accountability. Do you remember Benji Audley Shaw? Do you remember how he used to shadow Omar Davies? A shadow mimics the original. That's what to shadow means. To shadow, if I am going to shadow you, it means I follow you. Wherever you go, I'm there with you. I can't be your shadow and I'm all over the place. That don't make any sense. If you are going to appoint a shadow cabinet, then you have to look at the ministries that the government designed, creates, and put people in place to make sure that those ministers, the specific ministers of the government, are held accountable. And so the opposition in appointing these 36 people have failed the country. This is a failure of leadership coming from the opposition to have created confusion in the country as it relates to holding the government accountable. It is very important. The democracy demands it. It is a requirement of our structure of government that there is an effective and opposition that holds government to account, because you know what they say of power? That power corrupts. Power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. We don't want a government that is being left on their own. We need an effective opposition. All right? You have to foster synergy in government. That's why Bruce Golding came up with an idea of having opposition members chairing the committees of parliament. Now, I am telling Holness, don't do that. Don't do that. And whilst Golding's idea was a good one, I don't trust this opposition. I don't trust this opposition. I don't think this opposition should be given any committee in parliament to chair. They're not ready. They're not ready yet. Their sole objective, I think, is to gain state power by fair means or foul. And I don't think that is in the best interest of the country. And I continue to say to my listeners that I ain't in the pocket of no one. I ask my listeners to support the Politics Plus network. My PA, please post the Cash App and Zelle account on the screen so that the people can make a contribution today. Do it today, listeners. Tap the screen, share the live. A mirrored shadow cabinet facilitates collaboration. Is either that or the opposition is indicating to the government it does not wish to collaborate with them. Because one of the things I am asking, or the thing that I'm asking, is by design, is the opposition suggesting we're not working with the government? Because how are you going to facilitate constructive debate? You know, in the sectorial debate, a minister makes a presentation. The sector, you need to respond to the sector, comrades. It is a sector you must respond to. That is what is called accountability and synergy. You are accountable to the people of Jamaica, you know, comrades. Don't think that is only the government that is accountable to the people of Jamaica. And I hear Mr. Golding talking about not costing taxpayers' money. Really? So who paying the members of parliament here? Is the PNP paying them? Is the PNP paying them? Those who are in the Senate they get $170,000 every sitting, you know. If they are in the shadow cabinet, taxpayers' money fund that. And if they're in the parliament, they're getting what, about $14 million a year. The opposition leader himself is the second highest paid politician in the country. You have to mirror the cabinet. So when the minister makes a presentation in the parliament, we need the opposition spokesman on that particular ministry to respond. And I'm asking, therefore, who is the Minister of Productivity, Efficiency and Competitiveness? Who is the minister? Who is the Minister of Social Protection and Social Transformation in Jamaica? Who is the Minister of Gender, the Elderly and Persons with Disability? I look over on the government side and I don't see any such minister. But I'm sure they'll find someone to speak. In the Westminster system, effective governance involves collaboration and accountability between government and opposition. A shadow cabinet that mirrors the government's cabinet enhances accountability and foster synergy. And so while the PNP's shadow cabinet may have its strength, its structure and size raise concerns about its effectiveness in shadowing the government. I would argue for a more traditional approach where you mirror the government's cabinet. And I suspect that that is more effective in promoting accountability and synergy. What do you say? Open the lines for me and let's take a few of the calls at this time. Morning again to you. You are live with us at Politics Plus. Hello Neighbor is the name of the program. So the Westminster system of government which Jamaica adopts is a parliamentary democracy where the government is accountable to the elected legislature. In this system, the cabinet is a crucial component of the government. The legislature is the parliament. All the members of parliament forms part of the legislature. Legislate means that they make laws, pass laws. The cabinet, which is the executive, forms part of the legislature. That is why you can't pick up a cabinet minister from in the private sector. They have to either be in the upper house, which is the Senate, or the lower house, which is the House of representative. The cabinet comprises senior ministers or ministers that are responsible for portfolios. The opposition's role is to hold the government ministers accountable. A shadow cabinet in the Westminster tradition is a group of opposition ministers or members that mirrors the cabinet, right? And therefore, one need to ask oneself the question, what do we have here? What do we have here? Do we have any callers online at this time? Do we have any callers? Let's see if we do, and we could take them. Not that. Let's see. Do we have anyone wanting to join at this time? All right. Okay. All right, so yesterday, news broke that the Jamaican economy is growing by between 3 and 4% for the third quarter. Growth of 3 to 4% for the third quarter. And I can tell you that this has significant implications for the country's economic future. You know, in the 90s, the PNP coined a term, they call it negative growth. Such was the lackluster performance of the economy that they came up with a term that they call it negative growth. Nothing was happening in the economy. So the decline was captured in a fancy term. They call it negative growth. Omar Davies and his team. And here we are now under Holness that we are experiencing, according to the Bank of Jamaica, we are likely to see growth of between 3 and 4%. Now, what does that mean for Jamaica? One of these days, you see, I'm going to discuss for you Nigel Clarke's contribution to Jamaica and how both himself and Holness, the team there, have revolutionized the Jamaican economy. When I speak of this story, you see, the story of Jamaica, the successes that this country would have enjoyed under this current administration, this is what I am talking about. The laying of the groundwork that now sees economic growth averaging 4%. You know, in the election past, Gabriela Morris, in one of her speeches, suggested that the 1.1% growth for the second quarter was up at Andrew Holness's house. Gabriela, I wonder what you have to say now. Gabriela, I noticed they haven't put you back in the Senate. I wonder why. Why is Gabriela not back in the Senate? Yeah. There's a boost in economic activities in Jamaica. You know what that is going to do? Increase employment and higher disposable incomes, improved living standard. Which country in the world right now is growing at 4%? Which country in the Caribbean is now growing at 4%? You know how much money that is for Jamaica? I soon tell you. You know how much money that into the government coffers? 3 to 4% growth. You know what that means for the debt? And I see where business confidence has improved. The PIOJ is projecting improvement in business confidence. Canada is growing by 0.2% and Jamaica 4%. My God. What is happening? Suppose they have, suppose they had changed the government. What a good thing that that Jamaicans kept faith in this government. Increased investments, expansion of the economy, innovation in various sectors. That's what the PIOJ is saying. Jamaica is poised for a boom in economic activities. My God, what is this for this little country? And when I tell you that, I talked to a group of people last night. You heard them on the program, planning to come to Jamaica. I see where all-inclusives are running specials. The tourism sector is enjoying fantastic numbers for the winter. Because when you have economic growth, then your debt to GDP ratio is expected to decline. And you know what the debt to GDP ratio is in Jamaica? The lowest since the 1970s. Did you know that inflation in Jamaica is below the projected BOJ rate, less than 2%? Now, this is fascinating news. Inflation in most countries today are struggling to manage inflation. And Jamaica has been able to keep inflation below 2%. There's some genius about the place. Your debt to GDP below 70%. I understand that it is trending closer to 60%. What are the sectors driving this? Tourism. The tourist sector has shown significant growth. Edmund Bartlett, hats off to you, sir. What a tourism minister he is. Young Tova Hamilton has been placed there to help him. Tourism, visitor arrival up, revenues up. And I understand that this sector is to continue driving growth. New hotels. Rio just opened another one over there in Falmouth. I understand that the government is focusing on tourism in upscaling the product, world-class resorts. And then young Floyd Green, You know, the linkages in tourism. The agricultural sector is also expected to contribute to growth with improved productivity and sustainability. The government's initiative to support farmers, such as reliable irrigation and storage, will boost agriculture output. The Jamaican economy is expected to grow by up to 4% this quarter. Let me tell you this, guys listening. Let me tell you this. Holness and his team, you could have vexed a little bit. This team running Jamaica at this time deserves support. Let's listen. Not enough tapping happening right now. Tap and share, please. Tap and share. Let's go. Tap and share. This team, the results are clear. The PNP have never been able to grow this economy by 3 to 4% in any one of the years in the 90s. Never. We have never seen 4% growth. Never happened. And I don't even know that they know how to do it. The PNP is largely a party of welfare distribution, you know. I don't think they understand the capitalist structure. What the PNP know how to do is to take what the country produces and give it away. They don't understand capitalism. The challenge with capitalism, though, is that it takes some time to manifest itself throughout the economy. The people talk about trickle down, and trickle down sounds like a bad term, but it's not really a bad term. You know, it's not really a bad term. It's all it is suggesting is that those people with wealth, those people who have access to capital, entrepreneurs, you know, those who have inherited generational wealth, that they can use that wealth to go into businesses, employ people, and those businesses generate wealth. And if you generate wealth at the top, it eventually gets down to the bottom. So that's what it means. Yes, and the Labour Party really has been a market party. You know, the market drives economic growth, right? If you look at the trajectory or the path that the government would have pursued over the last many years, it's clearly that they are building out the economy for greater economic expansion. And I suspect that we are beginning to now see the efforts, in other words, the pain that Jamaicans would have borne over the last couple of years, that those pain will be lessened, as clearly the economy is now showing quite a bit of resilience with 3% growth. The BPO sector, for example, creating a lot of jobs and meeting global demand for outsourcing services, right? And so when you have your economy growing by 3 to 4%, then your GDP increases. That's your gross domestic product. And that translates into billions of dollars of economic output. Billions of dollars. I mean, if the economy grows by, I didn't get a chance to crunch the numbers, but I probably will be able to do it and tell you later. The amount of money that Jamaica will earn with a 3 to 4% growth. Now, what if the economy should grow by this amount in 2 years? Yes, we probably will be able to not only reduce the debt, but you're going to see massive investment in social services, because that's where the money comes from, you know. And all this talk about time at hospitals, wait time, and bad roads, yes, and other services, social services that Jamaican people want improved. Time come, don't fix that, you know. That's not rhetoric. You can be as rhetorical as you can. That don't fix 1 square feet of road in the country, nor put 1 bed in the hospital. Yes, nor can it purchase 1 drill or 1 fire truck or 1 garbage truck or 1 bus on the road. You have to have the resources to do it. And where the resources are going to come from? Where does the government get resources? It gets it from taxes, from fees, from grants that comes out of the economy, or it have to borrow. And you know, there are some concerns that I've seen about the, well, let the Minister of Finance work that through. Right? Billions of dollars will come into the government coffers. And that is why I suspect that they have been talking about the people's term. I think it is the projections that they have seen. Because remember now that the government would have spoken to the technocrats and would have had some idea of what economic growth would be like going forward. And therefore, when you see the Prime Minister, for example, positioning Wheatley in his office to deal with special projects and brought back Montague to talk about land titling and all of that, I suspect that it is the projections that they would have seen, they would have known that the government is expecting billions of dollars from the improvement in the economy. So that's why they've been talking about the people's term. So the people of Jamaica can expect improvement in their standard of living. You know, I understand that the government is coming with a program to help people fix them roof. You can get zinc and board and nail. So if you have a house that was damaged by hurricane, or you start constructing a house years ago and you're struggling to finish it, the government said they're coming with a program to help you finish the house, put on the roof before the rain start fall. This is a very underrated moment for Jamaica indeed. Yes. And this is why, you know, we've been talking about foresight, for example, been talking about the common man and how the common man is not being kept abreast with what is happening in the country. These are fantastic news for Jamaica. Imagine that you have you start a house and you have struggled to finish build it, and government is now coming up to say, hey, not through NHT, not that you need to pay it back, but they can give you a grant. You know what, $200,000. By the way, you remain nameless. Somebody wrote me this morning to say that they need some help with 300 block well, some zinc and some things will help put up them house. You know what $250,000 can do for a small man? To help him buy some zinc and nail and board for him house? What a fantastic idea. Right? And why are we where we are today? Here is the important point. And here is why it may have been important that the government got a third term. Here is why it is so important. Because the potential of reversal is real. Because when you have a new government does not necessarily continue the priorities of the government that they replace. They'll always have new ideas. Sometimes they recast the budget. They move funds into other areas. And some of them hungry. Some of them hungry. Because when you're in a position for a long time, you're hungry, you know. Your side tend to think that, well, my time now. So, you know, maybe. I don't want to sound too political here, but maybe it was it probably was in the best interest of the country for the government to continue. By the way, as soon as we start the distribution of the zinc and the roof thing, I need to know. Have a few persons that have said to me, neighbor, please check it out for me so that we can get a little help. But here is the important point to make, that these results are directly related to the economic management of the country. And you know, I heard the Prime Minister saying that Favour Williams is very good. Now, she may not be able to debate well, but based on what the Prime Minister is saying is that it appears as if Favour is a bit of a quiet genius. Yep, because we haven't seen any significant shift in terms of the momentum since Nigel Clark left, which suggests that the team at the Ministry of Finance continues the good work that Nigel started. It suggests that the government is a cohesive government, you know, not a one-man type of government that we have here. So when you lose Nigel Clark and you are still able to come up with 3 to 4% growth, what does that say of the team up at the Ministry of Finance? What does that say of the new Minister of Finance? And that Holness kept her in this third term suggests that he has confidence in her ability to carry the process forward. The major point to be made is that I believe that the government ought to be commended for their fiscal management of the country. And when one thinks about the fact that we just had an election and the government did not run with it, maybe Holness and his team knew very well that they would have won and that they didn't need to be vulgar with government resources to win an election, that they kept the economy fiscally, they practiced fiscal responsibility, and they still won. The government's prudent fiscal management has contributed to this improved economic standing, with reduced debt servicing and increased foreign exchange revenues. You know how much money the Bank of Jamaica is reporting that they have down there? Over $6 billion United States dollar. Jamaica today have in its savings account 6 billion, not million, you know, $6 billion United States dollars. Pierre, can you tell us how much Jamaican dollars that is? That's enough money. In other words, our ability to respond to shocks. For example, if we should get a hurricane this year, right? All this bad road that you see the rains are mashing up. Over six, never in the history of Jamaica have we had so much money in the reserve. We're not talking about money that is available for budgetary support. We're talking about money put aside, back in the economy. You back your exchange rate. So for example, the government, if the dollar starts to, be a little unstable, coming up to Christmas, you may have that. The Bank of Jamaica can step in comfortably and put money into the market so you keep the dollar stable. So when you invest in infrastructure such as public transportation, your energy grids, these are the things that support economic growth and development. This should be all over the media, that Jamaica is now poised to grow by 930 billion Jamaican dollars. Imagine that. God, kiss me neck. What? We have 930 billion dollars locked away down at the Ministry of, down at the Central Bank in reserve, in our savings account. Hear that? 930 billion dollars locked away in Jamaica's saving account for the rainy day. That's the money we have for the rainy day, I tell you the truth, this is no wonder the PNP wanted to win the election. They knew how much money we have saved. You know the PNP history of that NIR. I don't know that they could do it at this time because of the fiscal rules. But and the PNP is talking about we went to the United Nations. Little Jamaica went to the United Nations, and other countries are getting up, walking out on the Israeli Prime Minister, and we must get up too. We must get up and walk out too. That is what the PNP is talking about. They are criticizing the government that we sat down. Sit down, Jamaica. Sit down. Yeah, we're talking about foreign affairs. We're talking about our standing in the world and taking a principled stand. Sit down. When others leave them to walk out, you sit down. You understand what I'm saying to you? We have to trust the decisions that the government makes in terms of our international affairs. Kamina Johnson-Smith and her team at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs know better than us. Sit down. Others are walking out on the Israeli, and a lot of people don't know. The Prime Minister made a trip down to Israel some time ago. What are the relationships? I don't know anything about this Palestine thing and all of that and all the accord. We don't know. But our people sit down. Everybody else get up and walk out, and we sit down. Jamaica, sit down. Jamaica, sit down. Oh my God. We don't. Did I tell you something? The PNP say we should have get up. Others are get up. We sit down. Sit down, you're here, Jamaica. No. Don't get yourself involved in a them problem. You sit down. Anyway, this is what we want to talk about. What we want to talk about is what are we doing to improve the lives of our people here. Sit down, now get up Oh, no, you ain't walk out, but nobody. We have to sit down. Right now, we have to sit down. We can't follow anybody else. We must know our foreign affairs. We are, when they say we are friends to all, we're enemy to none. We are friends to all. Jamaica is not in any position to take sides right now. We have to take care of our own affairs and our people's affairs. We don't want no controversy in our country. We don't go to the UN to cause no controversy. We go to a UN, give a little speech, say a little something. Did you know this, Miss Donna Scott Motley? You notice that where when Jamaica talk, that after all of the big G8 countries, the United States president make for his speech in Ghana, Brazil, France, Germany, all of them make them G7, make for them speech and then gone. Okay? And we know little Jamaica, part of the Caribbean, 2.8 million people. We must go get involved in a world politics. Sit down. So we're not going to stir no controversy. We have to be friends with all and enemy to none. Sit down. Them know where them get up and come out for. We don't want to be enemies to Israel. We sit down. We not even understand why they get up and come out. We sit down. Oh my goodness. Let's take a break and come back.
I can't believe me hype. Boy, I tell you something. This is all very exciting.
I tell you this. anything Kamina Johnson Smith say, that we are work with. Sit down.
Exciting.
Anything Kamina Johnson Smith say, that we are work with. We not turn up. We
Oh gosh. I can't believe me hype. Boy, I tell you something. This is all very exciting.
Anything Kamina Johnson Smith say, that we are work with. We don't understand it, so we sit down.
Oh gosh. I can't believe me hype. Boy, I tell you something.
I tell you. Let's go back here.
How does payroll feel with Beal?
No. Anything our foreign affairs minister said. In Scratchy, come here, Scratchy. You may understand this a little bit more. Come here.
Something. This is all very exciting.
What we are interested in Jamaica right now is helping our people. Lifting the standard of our people in Jamaica. We not get into no controversy in the world. We don't want to get in no controversy in Jamaica. We have to be fighting on our own. A long time we are suffer. We not go at the UN because no controversy for nobody. We don't want Jamaica not to get involved in them something there. Sit down in your seat. Sit down in your seat to hear Jamaica.
Oh gosh. I can't believe me hype. Boy, I tell you something.
You sit down in your seat. Don't get up, come out nowhere. Sit down in your seat. Anything Kamina Johnson Smith say, that we work with. All right? Sit down.
Oh gosh. I can't believe me hype. Boy, I tell you something. This is all very exciting.
One Kamina and 1 p.m. All right, sir? So they say, sit down.
I can't believe.
All right. Good afternoon, Scratchy. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, neighbor.
Yeah. Oh, what go on?
I'm chilling.
Scratchy, the opposition is criticizing the government that, you know, while others were walking out on Benjamin Netanyahu, we sit down. What do you understand to be the case here?
I mean, I think we did the right thing, neighbor. Sit down. Jamaica have no place in this as I said earlier, neighbor. This is a country.
Can't get in the elephant. When the elephant fights, we can't bother with that.
No, neighbor. These are problems with country who can afford fighter jet, neighbor. Who can't even afford a private jet for our prime minister, much as a fighter jet. So this is not our problem. This is not our issue. This is a type of thing about a country who can afford fighter jet.
I don't even know if we in Jamaica understand what happened.
Exactly, neighbor. This is a fighter jet problem, neighbor.
The geopolitics of it all, Scratchy. We don't understand it, and I don't think we need to get necessarily involved in these things more than we have a vote sometimes. We sit on certain council and committee. Jamaica, we have too much domestic problems here on our own, so if we go get involved in a world politics, Scratchy. If we sit down and we see it, not true.
We have to sit down, neighbor. You said it perfectly. Sit down and listen to anything that come in and say that we are work with, neighbor. This is bigger than we, neighbor, man. This is way bigger than us, neighbor. These are countries who have them GDP over 20 trillion US dollars and 10 trillion. We don't have them type. What our problem, this neighbor?
See?
Our problem, this neighbor.
This is bigger than us. We can't even afford a little plane for our prime minister. Him have to fly in passenger plane.
Exactly. And we are talking about countries, neighbor, who are use fighter jet. It cost 2-3 billion US dollars. I know what problem this neighbor. The PNP is out of them wits in the neighbor. Dana Scott McLean neighbor. She just like to talk because she have a mouth can talk, you know.
Yeah, but Jamaica not even concerned about this, Scratchy. We don't even know what our role at the United Nations really is. As I said earlier, you realize when we talk there is when everybody gone, you know.
Neighbor, the United Nations, neighbor, these type of geopolitics things, neighbor, it always concern, it always surround mostly about 7 or 8 or 9 countries, neighbor. They are the ones who have the key responsibility and key interest.
Power.
Yes.
Africa and the Caribbean are treated like, sure, we go there because we're part of the global village, Scratchy. But we sit down now, we see it.
Exactly, neighbor. One fighter jet is our GDP in the neighbor, so we can't talk to these guys.
Scratchy, the economy is poised to grow by 4%. Does this not speak to a structure in the government that needs to be looked at, Scratchy? I don't hear this much on the news, but is Jamaica not now turning the corner in terms of a powerhouse in the Caribbean?
And I think just like crime, neighbor, just like the investment that we made in crime, neighbor, where we invested over 40 billion or more over a period of time in crime, neighbor, and we started to see in 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago we made those investment, neighbor, and here in 2025, neighbor, we can report a 40% decrease in crime, neighbor. That is as a result of the investment that was made, neighbor. So this 43% growth, neighbor, is also as a result, neighbor, of the investment that was made from that time coming to now, 7, 8 years ago now, neighbor, we are starting to see the benefit of those investments. And the Prime Minister has always told us, neighbor, we're not going to see it right away, neighbor, but with time, neighbor, Jamaica will definitely get better.
Yes, Scratchy, and that is the important point. Before I get here, does this not say something, Scratchy, about Fable Williams' capacity and ability that she has been able to continue the? Is she a quiet genius in the administration, Scratchy? Fable. Don't we need to now take a second look at her and say, boy, this lady may be more than we thought?
I mean, neighbor, if we should go by the qualification to become a finance minister, neighbor, Favour Williams will be way overqualified, neighbor. Way, when I say overqualified, neighbor, I mean way overqualified to be the finance minister, neighbor. So yes, neighbor, she might not be the outspoken one, but not because you're not outspoken in terms of it coming out witty with the words or stuff like that. That doesn't mean that you're not competent. I think behind the scene, neighbor, she's a giant in that ministry, neighbor. She knows the ministry very well. She knows the inland. And neighbor, she's very known internationally as well because she's working in international organizations with monetary funds and stuff like that. So she's someone, neighbor, she knows what she's doing. Not someone who come out and talk witty and can say this or say that. with certain style like a Nigel Clark, but nonetheless, neighbor, she's doing the job internally, and we are seeing a continuation of Nigel Clark work through Favour Williams, and we must come in there, neighbor. She's a giant, neighbor. Trust me.
Scratchy. My peer, can you help me with researching how much money Jamaica is expected to get from a 3 to 4% growth to GDP? Just help me with that. Maybe I can get it for later. Just to broaden this a little, Scratchy. It appears to me, Scratchy, that the government led by Holness is not a one-man band, but is a team of people that are strategic, very visionary, and have a clear plan for the development of this country. Isn't that not what you see coming out here also, Scratchy?
Definitely, neighbor. I'm seeing cohesiveness, neighbor. I'm seeing some form of organization, neighbor. I'm seeing some form of definitely, neighbor, is a teamwork, neighbor. The cabinet, neighbor, we can see that we have a cabinet that is very strong, neighbor. We have a cabinet, neighbor, that knows what they're doing. They know the areas to target, neighbor. Even if they might not come out and speak as much as I would like to hear them speak more about certain stuff, but what based on the result that we are seeing, we can definitely know that behind the door, neighbor, this cabinet is definitely doing what needs to be done. They are crossing the dot, neighbor. They are dotting the T. They are on point, neighbor. They must say that you are 100% correct, neighbor. The cabinet of Jamaica is on point.
It probably is the best cabinet we have had in decades, Scratchy. This cabinet
Definitely,
is on.
Huh? Definitely, neighbor, one of the best cabinet.
When you look at Favour, you talk about Christopher Tufton. You know, I spoke to Marissa Dalrymple Philibert on the weekend, and she was telling me about Delroy Chuck's brilliance. He said he's a brilliant man. You're talking about Matthew Samuda, Floyd Green, Kamina Johnson Smith, Dana Morris Dixon, a Rhodes Scholar. Scratchy, this is a fantastic, bright, young, energetic cabinet.
Yes, neighbor. That's why when time persons speak about the budget, neighbor, the $700 cost to taxpayers, neighbor, I tell them that look at the qualification of these persons, look at how many money these persons spend to gain them education, and look at not just at the money that they spend. Look at the quality of these persons that were presenting to Jamaica to lead us, both as our junior ministers and our cabinet ministers, neighbor.
Orbin Hill. Dr. Chang, Edmond. Sir, you can't better Ed Bartlett in tourism, Scratchy.
It don't get any better than Mr. Edmond Bartlett, neighbor. Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. And how do you pay a Dana Morris Dixon, Scratchy, that this girl could get a job, any Audrey Marks, anywhere in the private sector she goes, she would have been employed.
And these are the type of people that we want in politics, neighbor. These are the type of people, neighbor, that we want to see as our politician, neighbor. Persons who have made their mark in the public sector, in private sector, neighbor, and they come across knowing governance to serve, neighbor, not just in terms of just want to serve, but with ideas, bright ideas and different sparks, neighbor. And it's a good message, neighbor, when time these persons have international meetings and your opponent or whoever you're supposed to meet in Washington, they're going to run their background, you know. They're going to run their background, you know, say, let me see who is neighbor. When they see that one neighbor of MSB, this neighbor go to that, you get more respect as well. So definitely, neighbor, it's a type of cabinet that it will definitely bring us forward, neighbor. And no price tag. It is an embarrassment, neighbor, if we should attach any price tag to this cabinet and think that they don't worth it, neighbor. They value more than $700 million, neighbor. Just the educational background alone of these persons.
Yes. Hold on. I see somebody say that the growth in the economy is over 50. No, Scratchy. If you have a government, I hope Mr. Holness is taking his pay, Scratchy. Andrew, you're taking your pay? No, Scratchy, if you have a government that in 1 quarter earns you 53 billion additional money, Scratchy?
Definitely, neighbor. I tell you, neighbor, this is why I say the Prime Minister could come out and tell us that he don't want nobody tell him nothing when he said the minimum wage can go to 32,000, neighbor. This is why I hear the Prime Minister make statement like this is the third term, it's for the people, neighbor. The Prime Minister saw this projection. They have inside information.
That is what I was saying early.
Yeah, neighbor,
that they would have gotten it from the projections. That so they knew that the money was coming.
Exactly. They have the books, neighbor. They're privy to things that me and you are not privy to, neighbor. They know the projection. They know where it's going, neighbor. They know where they can get that from, neighbor. They know where they can get this from. So yes, definitely, neighbor. And the reduction, neighbor. where we see that the GDP and the debt to GDP is now at 60%. That also free up some space, neighbor, about 3% of space. That also free up that as well, neighbor. So definitely, neighbor, Holness administration is definitely one of the best that we have seen in a long while, neighbor.
Scratchy, if you have a operations manager or a finance minister, and that minister is saving your country money and making money, is there any price you can put? Our Jamaica go on with Scratchy, about 24 million. What am I going with? What am I chat about?
Yeah, but there's no price that we can put on this type of person, neighbor, to get the type of result that we're getting, neighbor. No price tag can be made on them, neighbor. And I just want, neighbor, see, as Jamaica as a country, neighbor, we need to move past this thing where we hear certain figures, neighbor, and it strike us and we believe that it. Come on, man. We know that these figures don't really mean nothing compared to other places, neighbor. Jamaica need to get an understanding. If we build a sign, neighbor, and the sign costs $12 million, there's a problem.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be.
PA, can you help me to tell the people when last did the Jamaican economy grow by 4%? When last in our history did we ever have a government, Scratchy, that had the capacity to grow our economy by 4%? What a fantastic achievement for Jamaica, sir. This is what every social media program should be talking about today. Every radio station should be talking about this because the world recognizes it, Scratchy. Why are we not recognizing it?
Again, neighbor, as I say, neighbor, this is the Jamaica Labour Party, neighbor, has always been a one neighbor who come under some form of attack, neighbor, from persons with influence out there, especially in the media, neighbor. They tend to kind of shun the success of the Jamaica Labour Party and highlight the negative. The Jamaica Labour Party has always suffered from that, neighbor, from inception till now. They are still suffering from that, neighbor, because a lot of persons, neighbor, they don't really want to see good for Jamaica in the neighbor. They want to see good for themselves more compared than good for Jamaica overall. And the Jamaica Labour Party has always been the one to push good for Jamaica in neighbor. And once Jamaica is good, neighbor, all of us will automatically good. But if an individual is good, neighbor, it's not most that individual can make me good. So I would prefer to choose to know that Jamaica is good.
Thank you so much. I think this the biggest news we are hearing in Jamaica today is that our economy is growing, and it is as a result of prudent fiscal management. Commendations to Andrew Holness and his team. Commendations, Anti-Faval. Commendations to the people at the Bank of Jamaica. Commendations to the entire cabinet of Jamaica. Fantastic job.
And the staff, and the technical staff in the ministry, neighbor. The technical staff in the Ministry of Finance as well.
Yes, at the Ministry of Finance. $50 billion worth more of additional revenue in just one quarter for Jamaica. We have a caller online. China 749. Good morning. Afternoon, actually. Afternoon. Your neighbor here is here with us. Scratchy is online with us too. Let's see who is online. PA, who is online that wants to join us to advance.
The next sector, neighbor, where I'm expecting to see some form of spark, neighbor, not in terms of monetarily, neighbor, but from a different level, is the education department, neighbor. I'm expecting to see some form of improvement coming there over the years in terms of our CXC passes, neighbor, in terms of our illiterate level, neighbor, all of those things, neighbor. I'm expecting to see that coming out of the ministry, coming forward as well, neighbor. I'm expecting to see that spark. Because if you look at what the government is doing,
the point to be made, Scratchy, is that if you don't have the money to invest in your human capital and development, you're going to lag behind. And that's what people need to understand, Scratchy. That the problems we have had in Jamaica, it's because we have had, you see that 18 and a half years that many people don't like to hear about, Scratchy, it set us back, you know.
I tell you that before, neighbor, that 18 and a half years of Jamaica's store point, neighbor, that is when Jamaica suffered. Everything that Jamaica is reaping bad from right now, neighbor, is as a result of that 18 and a half year, neighbor. The crime that we have in Jamaica, neighbor, is as a result of that 9 years. 18 and a half years, neighbor. We couldn't buy a police car, neighbor. We couldn't refurbish police stations, neighbor. We couldn't do all of that, so that crippled the apparatus of the security forces, neighbor. When you look at education, neighbor, we couldn't properly pay our teachers. We couldn't properly provide furniture in schools. That crumpled our education system, neighbor. We still don't get over that up to now. Everything, neighbor, that Jamaica is suffering from now, neighbor, was breed in that 18 and a half year that the People's National Party ruled over Jamaica. Every single thing that is wrong with our society, neighbor, manifested and morphed into what it is now in that 18 and a half years. And it's so sad.
And don't you think that the real credit to the government, Scratchy, should be the recovery effort? Because to have recovered this country and to now put it on a path of growth is nothing short of a Herculean task, you know, Krachi. Not to mention the crime monster.
Exactly, neighbor. When you look at where we're coming from, neighbor, to where we're at now, neighbor, it is a Herculean task, as they say, neighbor. It is a wonderful task, neighbor. It is something that it is not easy, neighbor. It wasn't easy, neighbor. The Prime Minister and his team, the cabinet and the other ministers, neighbor, the technical staff in the ministries, neighbor, it had to be a total revamp of the whole system. It had to be a total revamp of everything, neighbor. New ideas, new everything had to come in place, neighbor. And the government stood, neighbor. They pushed, despite all the fight that they come against, neighbor, from external powers, neighbor. The government and the party leaders stay fast, steadfast, neighbor, and stood and pushed. When everyone was bashing Andrew Holness in the neighbor, 2020, 2021, 2022, and say economy, 2017, 2018, economy, Japan. We see now, neighbor. We see now the benefit, neighbor, when he was talking about economy. We see it, neighbor. He has pushed the economy on us, and I think Jamaicans are taking their time, neighbor, and more Jamaicans are now appreciative and understanding of what the economy is and how the economy works compared to prior administration.
Because it's a cultural shift that had to happen, Krachi.
Exactly.
Here we are, a broken country, infested with crime, poverty, and people came to accept that the whole matter of the poverty of aspirations. Jamaicans did not believe that we could be better, and now we are beginning to emerge out of the dust, Scratchy. More and more Jamaicans are beginning to feel hopeful and beginning to see that there really is a plan. We can do better.
Definitely, neighbor. As I say, neighbor, more and more Jamaicans are becoming. A lot of Jamaicans, neighbor, didn't understand how government operate, neighbor. They didn't understand how economy works, neighbor. And I think that Jamaica Holness, neighbor, has put it in the most layman term for us, neighbor, where everyone know a basic understanding of how the economy works, how the economy operates. Persons no understand that you can't get road if the economy not grow. You can't get police station if the economy not grow. So persons are basically getting a full understanding of how government operate, neighbor. And that's one of the best things, neighbor, because you cannot run a government, neighbor, and person and the people in the country don't understand how it operates, how it gets funding, how it do things and stuff like that. And I think that with the push from the Prime Minister about economy, neighbor, Jamaica, neighbor, has grown to understand and have a better appreciation of what the economy is and how we're going to go about this economy. And that is why we're seeing what we're seeing. And if you look at what the Prime Minister is doing, neighbor, the largest investment in security, neighbor, by any government, neighbor, and Jamaica government, neighbor, the largest investment in roadworks, neighbor, and Jamaica government, neighbor, the most water projects, neighbor, and Jamaica government, neighbor, the largest compensation in public sector wages, neighbor, Michael and government, neighbor. And we're going to see the largest capital investment in education as well. I know he's coming with it, neighbor. I know that we're going to see the largest capital investment in education coming. So, neighbor, I'm just here watching and waiting. I have all faith in this government. I have faith in this cabinet, neighbor. It's a very intelligent cabinet, neighbor. It's a cabinet that is worth every single penny and more that they are getting, neighbor. And I have my full trust in them.
Fantastic. We have callers online. We have Rodriguez and then we have John. Rodriguez, go ahead, sir.
Neighbor, the question that I want to ask, I hear that Jamaica is about to buy back Jamaica.
Sorry, Jamaica is about to what? No, did you hear that?
Buy back Air Jamaica.
Buy back Air Jamaica?
Yes, sir. That's what I heard.
Jamaica doesn't exist.
I don't know what it is.
No, but there's nothing called Air Jamaica to buy back.
Nothing like that. No, there's nothing like that, neighbor. The persons are doing that, but there's no strong confirmation from that, neighbor. And I wouldn't request the government to buy back no airline at this time. We just get way above the water, neighbor, and I don't think a airline are going to benefit in a shape or form.
No, we don't need our own airline, sir. We only have 2.8 million people here, you know, sir.
Okay.
We don't necessarily need an airline. Let me ask you a question. Jamaicans have problem traveling, sir?
Not definitely.
Absolutely. I could go online right now and book a flight out of Kingston, not right now, tomorrow morning in another hour or so. There's no challenge, sir. What you want, you know, is
okay.
And you know part of the problem with us, sir. You know how much by the way, you know how much they sold that airline for and how much it cost us? My God, we need to tell the story of Jamaica.
Neighbor, when we sold Air Jamaica, neighbor, when we sold Air Jamaica, neighbor, to the Trinidadians, neighbor. The person who bought that airline, neighbor, got fired. They say it's the worst deal ever making the history of Trinidad.
Oh, it was bankrupt.
It was bankrupt, neighbor. We even see now, neighbor, a route like Fort Lauderdale. We see where Caribbean Airlines is releasing that route, neighbor, because it's not making. Neighbor, the airline industry, neighbor, it has become so competitive, neighbor, and it is so expensive, neighbor, that a government, neighbor.
There was a time when the Air Jamaica was in the air, and I think it was London Heathrow, and it couldn't land. The plane was in the air and couldn't land because we never paid the landing fee on the ground.
Yes, exactly. We owe millions in here.
Is the Prime Minister Bruce Golding had to get involved to make Air Jamaica land because the airport say you can't land it yourself because the parking fee don't pay. Guys, listen to me. We don't need an airline right now. The government needs to start to focus on driving growth in the economy, productivity, lifting our people out of poverty, providing opportunities for our people. Lego that we can fly on all other airlines. Go where.
Yeah. We don't need an airline right now.
Huh?
You know, neighbor. Good afternoon.
Sorry, John. Rodriguez, were you through?
Yes, neighbor. I just definitely want to ask. But
All right, nothing like that.
show me the work. Me have to turn off the mic every minute. But me I go and listen to you. So me, and disturb.
Yeah,
You
man.
understand? I just definitely want to ask.
Okay.
All right?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Me I go and listen.
Yes, neighbor.
I'm
Just
telling you, sir, that we had the plane in the air, can't land it. Pilots had to be circling around the airport, circling around with the passengers on board, and calls had to be made from the Prime Minister of Jamaica to make arrangements for Air Jamaica to land. Nena make no money off it. So what we are doing with a loss making.
Loss making venture, man.
you know,
You know, Scratchy, I soon did. Soon did in the sense that me now go there here for no long time in the world because of my age. I think the generation that we are coming up with, Scratchy, we owe them. And Holness and his team, may God bless them. Because they have rescued Jamaica, The debt that we have had to pay off now is like a albatross around the necks of Jamaicans. Right? Like a credit card debt that you have that has ballooned out of control and it is sucking everything out of you. Yeah. Children yet unborn. Yes? This generation, me and you, John, and all others in Jamaica, we can't live a good life. We can't drive on good roads.
Yes.
And enter into good hospitals because of the mismanagement of some in the past.
Of our country.
Huh?
Yes, neighbor.
We owe it to the generation coming up not to put this country back into debt.
Exactly.
They should not have to pay it because of our mismanagement.
Neighbor, I always want to say to Roderick that listen, the days are gone when we have a government that make policy only for feel good. I want to tell you this, that since Kamala becomes the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, she has discovered that for the past 10 years, Caribbean Airline is operating on a loss on every route that they apply. Every single route. And the board of that airline give a 2-year ultimatum to turn the airline around if each and every one of them job is on the line. So just imagine if we still have Air Jamaica, what will be happening to our economy. So we can no longer go back there to have an airline just for national pride only. Any decision that we are making going forward must be economically beneficiary to the people and the country. You
Yeah,
understand?
I'm repeating, sir, that the story of Jamaica will have to be told, and how we are where we are now because of some poor decisions that our government made.
Maybe I think you need to start compile that book.
Government, sir, and especially that PNP government, it was a very bad and poor government. And there is no one who can come up here and tell me that is not the truth. That is not the truth, sir.
You know, neighbor.
Decisions made on Jamaica's behalf. And it's a pity this country is not a country where they could be held responsible, sir.
You know, neighbor, many times,
hold on here, John. The amount of salt we had to suck through a wooden spoon and suffer in this country. When the world was growing and booming, Jamaica was lagging behind. Me personally can tell you that. You know, sir, in 2016, I know what was happening to me. And I'll never forget, brother, how I anticipated the 1.5. Because when I look at my pay stub and see the taxes that I was paying, and I remember how I anticipated it until the budget was read. And when Shaw said they have to phase it in. In other words, they had to do it 2 times. I was a little disappointed because I was looking forward for the little extra. Because salary increase, never. Let me tell you this. I work on behalf of a government agency. And for more than 10 years, they never raised the subvention for the children. Couldn't raise. For more than 10 years, the subvention couldn't raise. Some evenings, no, not even food, proper food. And it's since this government come in, right? We have seen improvement in the service being offered to that facility in terms of subvention throughout the period of the 90s. Not 1 red cent. Salaries, raise what? And I remember, sir, my own self, how I anticipated a little extra. Because when you talk about salary increases, was 2%. 1.something%. None or none. You take it or leave it. And guess what? You can't even walk away from the job. Because if you walk away from the job, none then they forget. So you have to stay there and suffer. Employers could treat you any old way and you have to stay in the work because guess what? If you're left it, no job, no, they're in the society forget. Today, employers have to be very careful because employees now have options. You face it with your employee, then take up them bag and gone. By next week, they have another work. That is the reality, and nobody can come up here and tell me that is not true, because I live that. And I remember in 2016 when we heard, I remember I was at a class in Maypen, and that's all we were talking about. No class couldn't go on, because everyone in the class, and we were adults, were talking about $18,000 more than we pay. And it happened. And I live to consider the hypocritical PNP them coming talking about 3.5. And they were the same ones who said at the time it couldn't work. Couldn't work. Right? This is the story of Jamaica. And when we see today that we have recovered, paid down the debt, driven down crime, start employing our young people, access to education and opportunities in the country. I want to come tell me foolishness. Where is the politics there? Where in what I have said here is politics? Where in what I have said is there partisan politics? Is it not true
It's the truth.
that in the 90s we sucked salt through with a spoon? Isn't that not true?
Yeah, man.
Let me tell you this. I came into Kingston looking for a better life. I never forget, I take a bus from Spanish Town to Halfway Tree. By the time I reached Halfway Tree, I was half dead. They not stop pick up people in the bus. I squeezed so till I thought this was hell. It hot. I remember standing in Spanish Town and to get a bus. It was like you had to rush and squeeze and push like a hog. Right? And today I drive into Old Harbour and me see JUTC bus park a load. When you step up in it, you think say you step up in an airplane. People sit down in a cushion seat with air condition. And you're going to tell me, say, we haven't made progress? Where in that is politics? I remember sending out applications until your penny done. No prospect. This is not politics. This is truth. Is it that the PNP never did anything? Well, of course they did something. We recall that it was Peter Phillips who brought some reform to JUTC. But he couldn't do much because the country was indebted. And where did the money go? Where did the money go? All the money that we borrowed over the years, where it go? We need a forensic audit of Jamaica's debt. A forensic audit of Jamaica's debt. How much money we borrowed and what it used for. Because we have to pay it back. And when you talk today, people run up their mouth. If you're a nationalist, if you are interested in truth and facts, then these are conversations that we must have. Because when I look at my pay stub in previous, thousands of dollars I pay in taxes, you know. Income tax me talking about. Thousands upon thousands of dollars that I pay. And where is Jamaica today? The same people are talking about hospitals. I saw them putting up signs about fix hospitals, fix it now. Hospitals not bad in Jamaica for the last 5 years. Roads not all of a sudden start get bad in the country.
Water.
When I went to school, we get Nutribon and Nutribullah and milk. Now the students are getting hot meals. Is that not an improvement? You know, when I came into Kingston, I used to travel from Mandeville to Skington to school. When I left Mandeville 3 o'clock, I didn't reach up here until 7 o'clock, you know. Because the traffic out of Meteor and Maypen.
One look at Marga Road. One look at Marga piece of road.
One little strike in Marga Road. The traffic meet you at Sandy Bay. Right? Now you can leave Mandeville. I go to Mandeville when I leave here, so I can jump on the highway. And I'm in Mandeville in 45 minutes. You're going to tell me that is not improvement? Eh? The country would have made progress. And who caused the progress? Right? Many Jamaicans today. As a matter of fact, majority of the Jamaican people. There are very few people. One lady told me yesterday from she born, she never hungry yet. She not hungry. Okay? And me had to walk left 4 miles to school. When I was going to school, thank God for a man near Herbie. He used to save one space and I arm for me. I'm on in time because he knows say Miss Delvis' son want to go to school early. Right? All 20 away in the one car. Pack up I go to school. All 20 away. I don't know how one car can carry so much somebody so. Yes? And me walk 4 miles. 4 miles. 2 before me could get one bus and something. You turn up all 2 hours before one bus come pull up on your foot. And you go in a Mandeville Park now, you see bus line up all about the place. To the point where we have brought in school buses in Jamaica. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. The country is making progress. And I'm saying it could have been, imagine, before I go to Mikey, imagine if we had managed our affairs so well, in the 90s especially. Imagine that we had managed the economic development of this country, not gotten so much in debt. Imagine we never had FinSac, right? Today we wouldn't be arguing about school bus service. We wouldn't be arguing about that, you know. We would have to find other things to talk about because those things are natural progression for a developing country. School buses are nothing strange for a country that is developing, a country that wants to protect and maintain the dignity of its people. That is not a political debate that we need to get into. Imagine if we had managed Jamaica well, where would it have been today? And you cannot tell me that this government has not been on a repair job for Jamaica. Repair. And for it to deliver the services that many people are saying it should deliver. Like the nonsense I see them putting up about fix hospital now. Take what fix it. Why don't you never fix it? Why don't you never fix it? Okay? Because when you have negative growth, you think you can fix hospital with negative growth?
I'm telling the government to lay off people. I'm telling the government to lay off people.
Until the government, no, I hear the private sector saying government will have to probably lay off people so that the private sector can find workers. Isn't that an acknowledgement that somehow we have turned the corner and are moving in the right direction? No, come up here with no foolishness, you know. Anyway, Mikey.
Yes, neighbor. Just to a little on the Air Jamaica thing. When in 1994, the PM PJ Patterson, they sold the majority of shares to Butch Stewart and some other investors. I think Canada was involved in it. All right, and they formed the AJ group, the Air Jamaica Acquisition Group. No, Butch Stewart in charge of it, and in 10 years of operation, they were losing like $67 million US each year. They lost over $674 million US dollars. All right. Now, in 2004, PJ took back the airline and the $674 million US. PJ placed that $674 million US on the backs of taxpayers. Leaving Mr. Butch Stewart, you know, I hear him himself. I don't know if you used to listen Perkins. Perkins used to talk about it also. Mr. Butch Stewart said a heavy burden was lifted off his shoulder. All right, that $674 million dollars debt that they paid, they took from Butch Stewart and placed it on the backs of taxpayers. Now they put Vin Lawrence in charge of the airline, and in 5.5 years, it run up a debt of $900 million US dollars. The thing was hemorrhaging so badly. All right. Now remember, you know, PJ pulled a fast one on the Jamaican people when he said Tata paid off the IMF debt. What happened, you know? The IMF debt was at low interest rate. PJ was borrowing on the domestic market and the opening market at very high interest rate. Remember, that's how people used to make their money. Banks and DBNG and so on.
Yes, a government paper. You just lend.
Yeah, man, you get at 60 sometimes.
Go cock up your foot on the beach.
Yeah, but they used to run ads like that used to run on TV though. Where they said, lend us your money and just go on the beach and sit down and you collect big interest rates and so on. So if you have a little business neighbor, what you do? Remember, you're going to run into
yes, sir, because it never encourage business because you couldn't make money off business in Jamaica. It never make no sense.
No, but neighbor, you're going to run into unions and so on.
So it's easier for you to just pack up your business, put that money on government papers, and go and lay down on the beach, and you make far more than what you'll be make from running business. So
that is why one of their own, sir, said that the greatest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich occurred in Jamaica since slavery was abolished. It is one of those statements that I tell you something, every time you use it, it sounds you want a ball.
Neighbor, every deal, neighbor, that was done in the 90s under the People's National Party administration for that 18 years, neighbor, was a sweetheart deal, neighbor. That deal wasn't in benefit to Jamaica, no way, neighbor. It was deals to benefit individual persons, neighbor. Every single deal, whether it was a road project, whether it was a housing project, whether it was the acquisition and the selling and the reacquisition of Air Jamaica, it was all sweetheart deals, neighbor. That's all the PNP do. Break sweetheart deals. That's why the Jamaicans we are faced right now, because no deal was in the best interest of the country at that time. It was just for individualism and groups of persons to make them rich and wealthy. I will see a lot of them now come back and try want to form government and want to be prime minister.
Yeah, the emergence of Jamaica today, sir, into what it is, I think is something that we must examine and lay some credit where the credit is where the credit is due. To have your country now growing at 4%, one of the worst. Hear me, listeners. Hear me. Look in my eyes. One of the worst indebted. You must read history. One of the worst indebted countries in the world. As a matter of fact, I can tell you this. The same Peter Phillips said when he went to the IMF, he never wished it on no other Jamaican finance minister. What Jamaica had to go through, the embarrassment, right? How you think we came up with the fiscal rules? No one want to lend us any money, right? And when we got a little money to borrow, the interest rate was so damn high, right? That it never even make any sense. And I don't think a lot of people understands that Jamaica came to the brink of but it was almost a default because we had 2 debt exchange. 2. And what is a debt exchange? It was where you bring in your investors or your lenders and say to them, say, guess what? If something not happen here, so we're not gonna be able to pay you. And thank God to those people who were willing to say, okay, we'll take, they call it a haircut. We'll take off something off of the interest. So our capital remained, but we won't demand the interest. Twice Jamaica had to do it. It's a technical default. And when you default as a nation, you know that your credit ratings gone to the dogs, right? And what caused that? What caused Jamaica to have defaulted on its debt? Who caused it? Why did Jamaica have to default on its debt?
No, but neighbor.
Like to know I am hearing that we have $930 billion in the NIR.
No.
Jamaica have $930 billion saved.
What?
We haven't raised taxes in 10 years. We have grown the economy, created jobs, and saved $930 billion. What not gonna tell me, say? This is not good fiscal management. And who do it?
What happened, neighbor? We were borrowing heavily on the domestic and opening market. All right, while multilaterals was there that could lend us money, but what happened, when they lend us money, you have to tell them what you're going to do with the money because they want to make sure you can pay back the money. But when you borrow on the open market, now we can squander the money and do as we like. All right, and that is what sent up the debt. Now, it was a case where the government, what they were doing, it just who can come and borrow and spend and and look good. But it was when Bruce Golding came in, and Bruce Golding said, listen, no more Skylark, we cannot continue like this. I'm putting the fiscal management, fiscal discipline thing.
Sir,
and started.
Don Webby. I heard Don Webby telling Mutty Perkins one day, that they put him at the Ministry of Finance. You remember?
Yes.
We used to call it 1/3. Him, Shaw, and Dwight Nelson. Nelson was negotiating with the public sector. That no money was there, And Don Webby said that when he starts the budget, he had a clean sheet of paper, and You know, Don Webby is a businessman. And you know, when you're starting budget as a businessman, he was saying that the country can't spend what it not have. And the people at the Ministry of Finance can't work like that. Because if we work with that type of arrangement, nothing could have happened. You couldn't buy one Panadol to put in the hospital without borrowing the money. Not even a painkiller we could have buy, so. You see what I'm saying to you? And so it's a remarkable recovery, Scratchy.
Bruce Gordon said he had to write a check of 500 million a day.
No, but
yes, a remarkable recovery that Jamaica has seen today. It's a context we're trying to get.
Neighbor.
To the point, no, where I am understanding that through increased revenues, more than $50 billion more is coming into the government coffers. Come on, Jamaicans. Come on.
What that mean, neighbor? What that mean? When Bruce took the plans to the IMF, you know, the IMF said, "Boy, these are really some strict. Can you really live by it?" And Bruce said, "Yes." But what happened? What hit Bruce? You know, what hit Ardisha is that in 2004, when the PNP were going on, they asked for a wage freeze. And they promised the public sector an increase, and said like 13% during the year to 26, 27, and a further 5% the following year.
And the government had to honor it.
But that's it. What it thing I know. The JLP now, because the IMF though, when they went to the IMF said, listen, you're going to reduce the debt to GDP and so on, and you're going to stick to this. Well, the public sector is too big. The public sector wages is too big, so you have to do something about it. No, we all know that it's only one union, the BITU, the JLP have a little influence on. All the others are PNP union. And the unions stand up strong and said that dealing this and so on. Because they have been going through, on the PNP, they have already gone through wage freeze. But what happened? Andrew, no, when Bruce turned it over to Andrew, it was too close to the election for Andrew to institute certain plans. So Andrew said, you need to get the...
He had a year, to be fair, sir. He had a year.
Yeah, but neighbor, a year is too short, because when you start now, move at the public sector, say, all right, you're going to cut the public sector. You're in serious trouble. When the election comes, you're going to get total wipeout. So it's best to get it out the way, and you have 5 years to recover.
I'm sure that if you spoke to Holness, no, he would say to you, shouldn't have called it.
No,
exactly.
no.
I share that same sentiment, neighbor.
The neighbor, with the union in that militant union and the PNP behind them. Remember, you know?
Yeah, but then hold on. You're a new leader.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take on the blame. What you have to do is say to the folks, listen, I've inherited some problems here, you know. Yes. So the same how he was saying to them, bitter medicine. He could have used the time to explain what he has inherited, what are his plans going forward. But you know, hindsight is 2020. Many people in the Labour Party, I can tell you, including Mike Henry, and a lot of the senior people were very upset that we went to an election 1 year out. We could have waited.
No, could have waited. And neighbor, to be fair to neighbor, that election wasn't lost solely on the economy, neither, neighbor. They were external factors always Kingston encouraged, and the bad media towards the government, a prime minister resigning. There was a lot of other external factors. It wasn't just the economy why we lost that election.
By the way, if Holness was going to call that election, and this is just my view, he should have called it right after he took over. That's when he had the euphoria going in his direction. So I hear that the PNP full up mandate with people.
No, but neighbor, the people were not going to take that. Look here, if Andrew, the unions were not going to sign. You're going to have people, the unions, the people are going to be in the streets and so on. All right, it was like a blessing. When Peter Phillips came and dropped in Peter Phillips' lap, there was no room for Peter Phillips to wiggle out it. Even though you people, all right, so Peter, but what happened? The PNP controlled the unions. And that is why Peter Phillips was able to get them again to sign a 4-year wage freeze. All right? So Peter Phillips, that's the best leader I've seen for the PNP out of all the PNP leaders. Because I remember Monty Perkins said in our neighbor, said Phillips had help convincing the PNP cabinet about, said, listen, this is what we have to do. because nobody wanted to touch it, you know, because you know you're going to pay the consequences for it politically. But Peter Phillips did a good job, and when the history of this country is written, he's going to remember favorable. All right, so we can't take that away from Peter Phillips. Even Andrew Budget's speech, he mentioned Peter Phillips. And the difference with Peter Phillips and Mark Holness is that Peter Phillips believes in continuity, because there was a certain agreement for certain to continue programs and so on.
But you know what I would say to you. You know what I would say to you, sir. You know what I would say to you. I accept that. But Phillips was part of the cabinet for the 18 and a half years. He was very much part of the team.
A popular one too, big cabinet minister.
As a matter of fact, a very influential member of that cabinet. So I don't join this thing about crediting him. I think that entire team there must take responsibility for the decisions that were made.
I agree with you, neighbor. But neighbor,
because you know, sir. If a government succeeds, you have what is called collective responsibility. And the whole of them,
yeah,
you have collective responsibility. So you can't say it was one man or two, because right now the economy is growing by 4%, and I am saying kudos to the entire team. Collective responsibility.
Yeah.
So it's not a one man thing. He must have had some influence to say to them, guys, no.
But neighbor.
Neighbor,
like how we saw Nigel Clark, I will see this Jamaica Labour Party, neighbor. Despite the physical responsibility, neighbor, we see where they go in the act, neighbor, and they do some things that are genius on their own part. Peter Phillips didn't do anything genius, neighbor. Peter Phillips was just following what the IMF had say, follow the straight line here that we're supposed to do, neighbor, and we were following it. They had the unions, and the unions agreed to the 4-year wage, and they were online. The Peter Phillips don't do nothing where I could say like the JDX or anything like that was great at that time. I don't see nothing great. Peter Phillips did, neighbor. He just follow exactly what the IMF tell him to do. And the unions, them were PNP unions, and they decided we're going to take a wage freeze.
Yeah,
but look at Nigel Clark. Despite the physical responsibility of the government, neighbor, we saw where Nigel Clark did a lot of things, neighbor, where we know that it was genius on his part and the government part.
In other words, he looked at the economic infrastructure of Jamaica, and he unclogged a lot of the things that were holding back the economy.
Exactly, neighbor. He wasn't being dictated by IMF program telling him that he cannot do that or he can do that.
No,
he used his own genius, neighbor, and go in his own brain and see what we can bring different. What kind of extra spice could be brought? But Peter didn't bring any extra spice.
No, man, but scratches.
By the way, Mikey, can you help me a little bit more? Because I'm learning from you. I'm learning from you. Hold on, sir. I want to learn. So you are saying that the wage bill was promised by the PNP when the union signed on to the wage freeze?
Wait, which one? All right, look here.
The one that Shaw had to pay. That's why they were not taking the IMF test. Help us to understand that.
Yes, because what I was reading in Major, it said the PNP had a 2-year wage freeze from 2004 now, ended March 2006. All right.
So they had promised the public sector that they would have gotten an increase.
Yes, and that's what catch Shaw now, because when Shaw come in, the IMF is telling Shaw that look here, the bill is too big, so it's either cut or something. I remember PNP had already had a wage freeze with them before and promised them the increase now. You know.
And the same opposition that had promised the wage increase was now pressuring the government to pay it.
Yeah, yes. That's what
knowing very well that the government never had the money.
Yeah, but it's politics. Yeah.
I tell you.
Yeah, but you don't remember they sent out the server.
They had to pay it, right?
Yeah, sure, to pay some money, and I think
collapse the program.
Yeah, George was explaining about, I think, with the police, some retroactive thing, and then it go right across to all public sector. That another thing that hit Shaw again. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah.
But as I was saying, Neighbour and Scratchy, remember, it's Peter Phillips for the patient to get better, improve. The bitter medicine was needed. And Peter Phillips is the one that gave them a drink of the bottle of bitter medicine and don't even realize on a PNP they'll take anything. And you'd have a hard time, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, so I think it was ill-advised to have gone into that election. As a matter of fact, you know, sir, I felt that it was possible for Golden to have recovered. The G2K had started to push him as experience. Yes, there was damage there, but there was time for him to recover. But you know, there are some other factors at play, you know, so that probably can't be said up here.
Yeah, but
like,
Jamaica economy was always bad. Jamaica don't vote on the economy. Last
Right.
time, Jamaica economy always bad. Jamaicans don't vote on the economy. Yeah?
Right.
We lost that Labour. If I not blame him or anything, but I didn't think it was wise to call the election at that time. Because neighbor, see at that time, neighbor, crime was going down in the neighbor.
Yes.
Big improvement in crime, you know.
Yes.
We had big improvement in time, and I think we could have used the crime neighbor because the PNP was backing out neighbor and didn't want to collaborate with the government
Because of
to really clamp on
the,
crime.
the states of emergencies that were on.
Yes, and I think we could have used that if we had gotten more time to build a campaign around that because crime was a main issue back in those days in the neighbor.
Yeah, but scratch it. Neighbor, you know what I think? I think the JLP dropped the ball when they came in and allowed so much things that went on during the FinSac time. They allowed the PNP to destroy a lot of evidence and files and so on. You know, I can read something for your neighbor.
Yes, man. Go ahead.
All right, the mix up. All right, there was a mix up with Grace Kennedy chairman, Douglas O'Rain. They were saying that they saw something that he had that debt with FinSac. All right, remember now when FinSac, all right, the government took over it.
What are you reading from?
The Gleaner. The government took over. Remember, the government took over the bad debts and thing and put in FinSac. All right, what happened? It said, okay, Grace Kennedy chairman Douglas O'Rain last night denied that he holds a debt to FinSac after yesterday's sitting of the inquiry heard that one of the debt given special treatment in the aftermath of the mid-90s financial sector meltdown was owed by a Douglas O'Rain. There have been reports in the news media yesterday, that a Douglas O'Rain owed a debt to the FinSac, which were not repaid and were written off. I would like to state that I have never borrowed any money which I have not repaid in full, O'Rain said in a statement. He explained that his mother and father started a business under the name Douglas C. O'Rain Limited, which was named after his father's Douglas Clare O'Rain, who is now deceased. That company, said the Grace Kennedy chairman, manufactured doors, windows, and parquet flooring for many years until it was sold in 1983 as a going concern. The new owners, he said, continue operating the company under the same name, Douglas C. O'Rain Limited. Neither my mother, my father, nor I have control of the company since 1983, over 26 years ago, said O'Rain. At yesterday's sitting of the inquiry, FinSac General Manager Errol Campbell, under pressure from the attorney, represented indebted entrepreneurs reluctantly agreed to reveal the name of people who had who had their loans forgiven. All right, let me scroll it. Of special note were 3 loans that showed substantial reduction on the amount owed. All right, listen. You have to listen to this part now, neighbor. According to a list dated December 2001 and addressed to Patrick Hilton, then FinSac Managing Director, Douglas O'Rain received a $112 million write-off on a $116 million.
Sorry, you're calling names here. Where you were reading from?
The Gleaner. No, this is Mr. Douglas O'Rain clearing his name, you know.
Oh.
All right. Yeah. He sold the company. He sold the company. His father had the company, but the father sold the company. The company and the person that bought the company still maintain the name. All right. So he was just explaining that to them. Now, listen this. Another debtor named as Hugh Gray had his $325 million debt dropped to $30 million. Why we don't know who these people are? These taxpayers have to pay back this money, you know. All right. And Jamaica Construction Company had its $326 million balance reduced to $4 million, down by a whopping $322 million. All right. But this is the trick now that the PNP using them for sure. All right, they said the FinSAC documents also show that Finance Minister Aldershaw, who initiated the inquiry, had a loan of 14 million reduced to 12 million, while Transport Minister Mike Henry, 39 million loan was dropped to 25 million. The list of people having a portion of their debt forgiven also include Paul's investment boss, Kingsley Cooper, who had a 24 million loan, who had 24 million of his 36 million loan forgiven. But the revelation of the extensive write-off of some debtor left David Wankeng, attorney at law representing the Association of FinSAC Entrepreneurs, questioning the criteria used by FinSAC to determine who received the write-off. All right, but what I'm saying here, neighbor, those people who got those big write-off, 300 million and so on, why there's no name there? If taxpayers are going to pay, if taxpayers are the one responsible to pay back those money, why are the documents not there? Why when the government change? All right, you don't see those information because they shred a lot of paper, a lot of documents shred, and there's a lot of thing on the FinSAC thing here. All of them, the information are in one page, and I was looking at them, and it's. I tell you, that's what you call corruption, neighbor. Yeah, because it's saying that FinSAC, wasn't FinSAC when FinSAC turned over the bad debt to Jocelyn, they weren't forced to give thing there, to give people bank statement of how much they owe and so on, They just tell you that you owe 100 million or you owe 50 million. It's either your pay or your property sold or so on. All right.
Yeah. I suspect, sir, that it is a little bit unfortunate that neither, as a matter of fact, I'm shocked. Here is where I think that the Jamaica Labour Party themselves are a little bit off. I hear the PNP criticizing the government for not releasing the FinSAC report. Imagine that. I mean, FinSAC happened under the PNP.
Yeah, PNP has nothing to do with it.
And the PNP is now saying that the Jamaica Labour Party is hiding the FinSAC report. Amazing stuff. Anyway, I think that this part of Jamaica's history is going to remain blurred, and the facts are never going to come out. Those people who have access to the top secrets in government will know what happened. The rest of we can only speculate. Want to thank you for today.
Neighbor.
That's exactly what is going to happen.
Exactly. It will never come out, neighbor.
Never come out.
No, man, but the testimonies are there, no, neighbor. The testimony, what's happening? They destroy a lot.
But the causes, and even some of those testimonies are what they release is what they know is not going to be damaging to
neighbor. Every government around the world, or everywhere around the world, are going to have something like this. These information, neighbor, will never ever come out.
Scratchy.
Never.
Scratchy. When Dr. Colbly went to testify, he said, he made it clear that, listen, I have front row seat in this thing. I was a minister at the time and a debtor. And Dr. Colbly said, PJ Patterson government administration coming grave error when it held the interest rate so high for so long. All right. He said, we messed up. He told the truth. He said, we messed up. Interest rate. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that still doesn't give us a full understanding of what go on. What may I say, if a person will come out and talk in Mickey. But in terms of getting the full understanding of who this, and just like what you say, who get this right up, who get right up, we're not going to privy to them information there. We're not get information there.
Yeah, because they destroy those information and scratch.
But this might all if it wasn't destroyed, there are persons who know it, bro, but they're not going to share it. I'm telling you.
I think what we must do, this generation, under this administration, in this age of information, that can happen in a Jamaica again.
Exactly.
Okay? That can happen in a Jamaica again. If that was the dark age, well, don't get away with it. But going forward, no government will put us back through that, sir. No government. All right? Want to thank you for today, sir.
Okay, sir.
All right, listeners, we have 27 minutes left, so send your requests and come up now. We have Scratchy here. You want to talk to us? What's on your mind? By the way, we will not be on tomorrow morning. I have to apologize for that, all right? So there'll be no show tomorrow at 11 a.m. Sorry. Sorry about that. We having a little bit of a challenge that we're going to have to be off tomorrow at 11, but we'll be back at 7. We need your support too to build the Politics Plus network, okay? We're going to ask you to help us. Without your help, we can't continue going. Telling you the truth. Pierre, can you post the Zelle account for me, please, and the Cash App, so that my friends in the diaspora can send something, some contribution? Yep. If you want to help us locally, 876-858-9553. So we apologize, we can't be here tomorrow morning at 11. But we'll be back. We'll be back at 7, all right? Winston, you're back?
Yes, yes, neighbor.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Go ahead.
when we were having the conversation, neighbor, the internet act up for morning, so I never get a chance to make the point. But I guess
Make
we'll
it now.
move on from there. But
Go ahead,
I
sir.
just wanted,
Make the point.
yeah, I just wanted to say, neighbor, what is happening now in Jamaica, it's a game changer. But the problem that we are having is that enough information or the right information is not being told to the people. You understand? Because we have too much negative pushback against this government. Although this government is the most successful government since our independence. You know, neighbor, a lot of us love to look back in the future and spoke about all the entities that we own and the government sold them. But I believe that one of those entities that we do not speak much about is that Air Jamaica Heathrow flat that we did own in London, right? Some years ago, I hear Ardisha say in the parliament, if we did kept that Heathrow flat today, the money that would make from that flat by renting it and leasing it out, today Jamaica would be a debt-free country. Just from that one flat alone.
From one flat? I don't think so.
It could pay off all of our external debt.
I don't think so, Major.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, no, what I'm saying, Scratchy, I remember, when Omar Davis was crafting a budget, the budget was short, right? And he decided to sell that Heathrow flat to Brampton in England. And I remember Mr. Edward Siaga was brought to tears begging Omar Davis not to sell that Heathrow flat, right? And he we all know how arrogant that man was, right? And he did not listen. And he said it was flat to Virgin Atlantic, Brampton. And some years after, Ardisha told us, our finance minister, if we keep that ethos flat, that flat alone could pay off all of our external debt
It's an oil slot.
that this country. So, you know, and I don't
It's an oil
and
slot.
I don't believe that the Jamaica Labour Party speak enough about that really, to let the Jamaican people really understand the implication of those bad decisions of the 90s and the early 2000s. You know?
Yeah.
So and as I say, neighbor, we need some historian or some good journalists to capture all of the 90s leading up to 2007, compile it and put it in a book that the new generation can learn where we are coming from as a country, so that we never make that mistake again.
Yes, and that is why I think that is one of the objective of this program, to contextualize the narrative so that people understand where we are and appreciate that where we are, the positives of where we are, should be examined in where we are coming from.
Yes.
And those of us who have had the benefit of history understands, Winston, that we've really made some bad decisions in the politics. Very bad decisions, Winston. And that we don't get back there. It is very important that we do everything not to get back there. We can't take steps forward and then steps backward. And in that regard, I believe that whichever government pursues progressive policies ought to be the government that we continue to support.
You know, neighbor, within my limited learning, what I learned from the 90s, the early 2000s, neighbor, I personally believe it was a grand conspiracy against the Jamaican people. Because the reason for me to make this statement, neighbor, when the government was pursuing these bad policies, you have educated people who was their biggest cheerleader. People from the university, people from in the media, people from the union, you know, every walks of life. You'd have people, intelligent and bright people, were the biggest cheerleader for the government, and they were behaving in a manner like no better bread no day. It is all the
because they were benefiting.
Yes, Scratchy. So that's why I'm saying here, Scratchy, it is my personal opinion that it was a grand conspiracy against the Jamaican people.
Yes, sir. And you know, when I hear talk today about corruption, Brother Winston, listeners, I remember growing up in Jamaica where every striking week there was a corruption. Corruption was breaking out in the government, like, you know, when you have sore that's just start broke out all over your body.
Yes.
You couldn't manage it. And you know the thing about it is that the PNP never lost their popularity, never lost their influence. They kept winning elections.
Winning election after election, neighbor. Because you know, neighbor, one of the time, you know, neighbor, when the party started to lose its popularity, when the PNP started to lose its popularity, whenever time it is coming down to a general election, and Scratchy maybe experienced this because of his past address, Tivoli Garden would be the target. Tivoli Garden would be the target first. It was the RGR group who would start all these negative propaganda on the people of Tivoli Garden, right? And then the security force will roll in and do all the damage. And I believe, neighbor, I personally believe that the people of Tivoli Garden especially, although Tivoli Garden fall in West Kingston, But I personally believe that the people of Tivoli Garden and Denham Turn need a public and a profound apology from these people for what they have endured over those years.
Hold on. Wait, Antenna, let's hear what Antenna have to say. Good afternoon, Antenna. Good afternoon. Hello. Oh, your antenna is up. Oh, okay, it's a mistake. Sorry about that. Okay, continue, Winston. Winston, go ahead.
So, you know, neighbor.
Oh. No, Winston, your internet is gone. Your internet is gone again, Winston. Pierre, mute him for me. So Scratchy?
Yes, neighbor.
Let's leave it there. Was a great day in Scratchy. The economy recovered on a path of growth. Jamaicans should start seeing improvement in their social services. So necessary in Jamaica. Scratchy, you know, Scratchy, I'm going to do a series on markets in Jamaica. A passion of mine. We need to fix up our markets, our interior community roads. Some little spaces in Jamaica, Scratchy. Some people would be so happy if they could get a little road fix. Seems as if we are finally going to be in a position to reach these little communities, Scratchy.
Well, after neighbor, we need to bring some form of changes to these places, neighbor, so that persons can have a greater appreciation and love and respect for their surrounding, neighbor. The current environment, neighbor, persons don't cater to pee, persons don't cater about littering, persons don't care about those stuff, neighbor, because of the thing is already his, neighbor. So we have to change it, neighbor, to change person mindset so that person have a greater appreciation of understanding of what things should look like. But we cannot have person living in squalor, neighbor, and expecting persons to come out and behave astute in certain way where we have them living like hog and dogs and roaches. So we have to change how we have person living in our market areas, neighbor. I shouldn't have to go to somewhere to buy my ground provision or my market produce and there's a stench or a certain smell coming from that area, neighbor, that is turning me off. I want to know that my markets, neighbor, are properly clean. They have a smell that is okay, neighbor, with me walking inside of that market. The garbage or the compost or the waste is disposed in a proper manner way, neighbor, where it's not causing any threat towards in terms of any odor or anything like that. Those are the things that I would like to see in my market, neighbor, going forward.
Sure.
Yes, and finally, it appears as if we are going to be able to reach the people, as I hear Bobby Montague saying that it is the people's term. People's term means that government is projecting sufficient, revenue so that it can really reach the people, Scratchy. Fantastic days are ahead for Jamaicans, and the whole matter of hope, Scratchy, it appears as if hope is returning to the country slowly, and if that is so, Scratchy, we're going to see a lot of improvement in the quality of life of our citizens.
Definitely, neighbor. That is what we want in the neighbor. We want our Jamaican citizens to have hope, neighbor. We want them to see their government and faith and believe in their government, neighbor. We saw a Prime Minister, neighbor, he promised us an increase in the minimum wage come next budget cycle of 18,000 to 18,500, and we're expecting that to continue to 32,000, neighbor. That is my biggest thing that I'm looking forward to, neighbor, because I know that an increase of $32,000 in the minimum wage, neighbor, I know what it can do for the country, neighbor. I know the disparity of wealth that is going on down in Jamaica. And at 32,000, neighbor, it will set the benchmark totally different, neighbor. Because when we look at a lot of persons who don't want to come in the formal working system, neighbor, we have to say, why these persons don't want to come? The current minimum wage is 15,000, neighbor. It is easy, neighbor. Any man can sleep on the roadside or up and down and hustle and make 15,000. We cannot make a man who is outside of the formal working system, neighbor, can easily attain what we consider to be our livable wage. It cannot work like that, or else we have persons who have no interest in the working system, neighbor, because it is too easy when you're outside of the working system to make whatever a man who is inside the working system is getting. So we have to make sure that we put those type of system in place, neighbor, where we safeguard our working people, them neighbor, and make them feel like, yes, what you're doing is for a cause, and stop make a man who feel like, say, yes, I don't have to go to work because at 16,000 I get away, I can't stay and beg that, or I can't stay and hustle that. So we have to change all of those things going forward, neighbor. And I have that much faith and believe in this government that anybody who will change it, neighbor, it is definitely this government. I don't see another one to do it.
One other thing, Rusty is joining us. We're closing out with Power Man. One other thing that I have impressed me, Scratchy, as an onlooker, is that I believe we have a prime minister that has a vision. And, people need to understand what vision is about. Vision is not 1 or 2 years, Scratchy. Vision is 20, 30 years. And you have to have confidence in a man with vision that he's taking you somewhere. I think maybe part of the problem in Scratchy is that the people of Jamaica are beginning to see that there is a vision for the country, a vision for the next 20, 30 years. It can't be myopic and short-sighted, correct?
Definitely, and that's what we were used to, neighbor. We were used in the 90s, neighbor. We just live in 1998. We don't know what 1999 gonna bring. When 1999 come now, we live for 2000. We don't know what 2001 gonna bring. Now I can day here and I can tell you that next year there's gonna be an increase in the minimum wage of 2,500 to 18,005. That is vision. I can tell you that within the next 5 years it's supposed to go to 32,000. That is vision. I can tell you where teachers' salaries are supposed to go within the next 5 years. That is vision. So there's a lot of things there, but I can tell you about the bunch to go be a bypass way to go look the next 5 years. That is vision. And at the PNP, we never had those things there, but we're just living for the specific time that we were in. And the PNP, I tell you before, neighbor, the country was basically running an autopilot, neighbor.
Yeah.
And the father Rusty a chance to come in on this one.
Absolutely. And Rusty, good afternoon to you.
Blessed love, my virgin.
Hello. You're always a eat, Rusty. Careful how you wait, man.
I have to keep up, because you see, that's the way diabetes treat you, you're always hungry.
Rusty, what's on your mind?
All right. I heard the brethren mention a while ago about keeping people away from making certain money from the informal sector of the society and to get them formalized. My brethren, I hate to burst a bubble, but I must tell you this. People don't like to be formalized. The majority of us that are formalized and in the formal workplace in the society is because of forced effort due to security reasons and other reasons. People afraid to go to prison and jail and all these things, right? But if you ask me, 9 out of 10 people prefer to make easy money than to go to work.
Because the opportunity is there to make easy money.
Right.
Rusty.
You're not going to get rid of that opportunity. There's always going to be that opportunity, right? Because take for instance now, if a man
hold on, Rusty. If we are to build a society of the rule of law,
and before I go any further with that question, that is the fight that the government is getting, the rule of law. We are not used to that yet.
But we can't become a developed society, Rusty, without addressing that,
And that is the reason why we need to get rid of PNP, because that PNP is a problem we have in Jamaica, it's not anything else, Because PNP seem to be trending to tell the people that, crime is the way to go. Now, just imagine you have a minister. Hold on, let's say you have a shadow minister of security telling the people to give the fisherman the money. That is straight criminal. As far as I am concerned, that is definitely criminal. Because as far as I am concerned, the fishermen are part of the problem and a big part of the problem. Them are going to pick up the drugs and them are carry out the drugs, right? So how can you, that in itself is a criminal fact, right? And you go and get a man in the formal society where I make $100,000 a week off of selling liquor herbs. You think him going on 9 to 5? No, put on that.
No, I'm not talking about a man like that. I'm not talking about a man like that.
Hold on, but you have to go right across the board, because remember the informal workplace is very much a part of the economy, right? It's called an underground economy. But
No, you know what I talk about, Rusty? I talk about the man that walk up and down a town with 20 nail clip where I take up space. When him should have go in and look at formal work, but why don't want to work? Because the minimum wage is 16,000, he might can sell 10 years.
That's not the only case. You have a whole heap of people who have work way more than minimum wage and can get work and not going into the formal society. So that is a non-issue there. Because you have a whole heap of boy where me personally know have employment where them can go. Where them get way more than minimum wage and they are not going. Most of the youths them where you see I go hard are for the money. After the term of training is over, them over too. Very few of them, out of 10 of them, maybe 2 or 3 of them, will find something gainful to do. This is the money why they're going. Most of them. Right? The other thing I heard you talk about is slipped my mind. Take for instance this guy Mahfoud and this other guy Azan. People like those are a nuisance to the society. And people like Matalan and all these people, the Joseph guy, right? Because they prefer the PNP to be in power. Excuse me. Them like how it run because them get to make billions and billions and billions of dollars off of the backs of poor people. They don't really care about us. Right? So people like them, they know, fight Andrew on the style. Because what you know, no? The news too tight, you know. The news tight, you know. We have to do them thing formally now. They have to come through the ports formally. But that's not that they have to run the wharf again. And the government are run the wharf now. What the Virgin name, what the former military guy, where they run now, man, what name again? Oh shit, Danville Walker. And Danville Walker is a disciplinarian. Me no say. Little Ray might not go on, you know, but for the most part, it's a serious regime going down this right now. Because he made certain to make you know, sir, what you know, no? The $1,000 barrel where them used to charge you. Them charge you 3 barrels for the same $1,000 now, so you don't have to do nothing illegal. You don't have to give no man no pop off. You understand? So there's a lot of things that the government is doing that is affecting a lot of people at the upper echelons, right? Because this is what Mr. Mahfoud wants to do is mash up the middle class again. He's saying that the public sector bill, wage bill is too high. Why? The more people that are employed is the better for the government and the better for the country. Because the more employment you have, the more money you have circulating in the society. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, you're quite correct. One General Rusty. But General, let me hear your comment on this. We see that the economy is up 4% in terms of growth. My understanding is that that's over $50 billion worth of extra revenue that the government is going to be getting. What are the areas in terms of the social side of the society that you would want the government? PA, I wonder if he can. Yep.
Neighbor.
Yes,
So Jamaica, neighbor. Jamaica is a very unique country, neighbor. And Jamaica, we're not going to bring down crime to zero, neighbor. We're not going to bring certain things to zero, neighbor. But, neighbor, all of us can't just get up and say, the youth them don't want this, the youth them don't want that. Neighbor, it have to start from somewhere. It have to start from somewhere, neighbor. We have to put the necessary steps in place. I bet the steps are there and they not take account and they not make use of it. But we have to put things in place, neighbor, for make persons take use of it. We can't just give up on the youth. Them. See, if we give up on the youth, them, neighbor, I might as well just give up on Jamaica in totality then.
Yeah. You remember we spoke about the rule of law, Scratchy, that if we are to build a society that is, you know, that lifts up people, then we have to create an environment that society emerges from. Not true?
Yes, you have to create the environment. We have to start from somewhere, neighbor. We have to start from somewhere. We have to catch a generation. There's a certain generation we have to catch. Either we'll catch a generation to come, because we might say, right, this one gone through the gate already, so we could catch a generation to come, neighbor. All of us can't come and live the same way as Jamaica will continue to stay in the way to stay, and I get the anemic growth of 1%. 0.something%, and we just can't benefit and move forward. It have to start, neighbor. I have faith in the youths them. I have faith, and I'm say faith, I don't want to busy them, want to PNP, I want to be labor, right? I have faith, neighbor, and I want Jamaica to be the place of choice to live, raise family, and do business. Neighbor, I live in Canada. Of course, murders go on in Canada. Of course, robberies go on in Canada. Of course, illegal activities go on in Canada. That can't stop. But to the extent you want to make sure it's at a manageable level, or a manage where it not create more anarchy than any other thing else. Or at a level where it not stop persons from go out and go gain them economical means and stuff like that. But for a level, neighbor, we have to have faith in Jamaica. If all we continue to say, yo, the youth them no want this, the youth them no want that, neighbor, I tell you, you know what the problem is now.
Well,
the problem in Jamaica, neighbor.
The clock has struck too.
No, neighbor. Good to be here, sir.
Good afternoon. Take us out today.
Yes, sir.
It's a Wednesday.
Yes, yes, neighbor. I heard you speak a lot of things today, but I'm gonna give you a sentence on the loquacious senator that is castigated as sagacious prime minister.
Yes. Hold on.
Yes,
You don't commit. Hold on. We're gonna. We're gonna. That is too much. This is trouble the party on here today. My goodness, what a trouble the party.
You can send me a postcard. Mail it home to the same yard.
My goodness, sit down. Sit down in your seat. Sit down on it. Oh my God.
Please say hi. Boy, I tell you something. This is all very exciting.
Sometimes make me wonder. I think the girl is clear. Oh no, love is like a chair. I want you know, you better sit in there.
No man, tell them to sit down. Sit down in them seat.
Throw away your car. You better sit down on it, chest down on it, down on it.
I can't believe me high.
Down on it, chest down on it.
Goodness gracious me, what a Wednesday. CJ Fabulous, good afternoon to you, sir. What a Wednesday. One of these days we're going to do a music show locked down the afternoon, eh? Radio sounding good like our radio show.
Boy, I tell you something. This is all very exciting.
Power man, come in, Power man.
Yes, neighbor.
Oh, what an afternoon, 4 minutes after 2 o'clock. Pincher says, sit down, pan it. Sit down, pan it. I tell you,
yes,
what
neighbor.
is he talking about, Power man, when he says sit down, pan it? What is he talking about?
Yes, neighbor. My sagacious prime minister and his mellifluous cabinet are a martinet. They are not puerile and rancorous and pugnacious like the opposition members.
You have to come with that again. Hold on. Oh gosh. Hold on. Let's come with that again. Come with that. Sit down, pan it. Oh, come Power man. Come on. We have to get up. Come in.
Yes, sir. The sagacious prime minister and his mellifluous cabinet are a martinet. They are not puerile, loquacious, and pugnacious like the opposition members.
Boy, I tell you something.
Action Jackson says encore. Sit down on it. Chance, you're in Canada. Sit down. Don't get up. Sit down. Oh, you want? Sit down. Don't get up. Just sit down. Sit down in your seat. Telling the Jamaican at the United Nations that they should have gotten up and walked. No, we say sit down. Goodness gracious me. Oh, you're a modern girl, you hear chance? Oh, Dixon, how are you? Forward into the place. Goodness gracious me, what a Wednesday. In the rain, come on, yeah. Can't take the girls them from way back when we need a modern girl. Sweet romancing in the rain on a Wednesday. Ow. Hold tight and squeeze your right. Oh my goodness. PA, how you doing? Tell me when I have to wrap up. She is modern girl. Modern girl. Give me the key. Give me the key. In the meantime, we want the key to your heart. Give me the key to your heart and we will never part. Getting the key to your heart, you'll never part, huh? We can never part. Yeah. Just say you love me. I know I really love you too. Just say you need me. I will never ever find someone new. Give me the key to your heart and we could never part. My baby, you don't remember me like I remember you. Not so long ago, you broke my heart into tears on my pillow. Courtney Melody, give me the key to your heart, we'll never part. Oh girl, if you give me the key, oh my goodness, what a key. Give me the key to your heart and we will never part. Give me the key to your heart and we could never part.
What you do?
Money mouth. Sorry. I want to put the car should busy or something. I'm sorry, come back, but I come back.